In this video, I want to talk about how you can beat winter weight gain. And winter weight gain is something that happens to many people who live in climates with cold winters. If you keep track of your weight, you might notice that it's harder to lose weight in the autumn. Now, this is not a myth. Most people, even those who are normal weight, gain a few pounds when it starts to turn cold. But it's possible to avoid winter weight gain, and I'm going to explain how you do that in this video. So, what causes winter weight gain? Well, there are two main factors. And the first one is a biological tendency in our genes to help us survive in cold climates. Now, if you think about it, our bodies are simply programmed to store more fat as winter approaches. It harks back to your inner caveman or your inner cave woman. They knew that there was going to be cold weather ahead. There was going to be hard times. So they would eat more as the weather started to get colder to lay down weight so that they might need to live off it if they had a really severe winter. So, it's perfectly natural. And it's not just human beings that do this. Animals do so as well. They tend to fatten up as winter approaches. And it's easy to see why when you think about it. More fat means more protection from the cold and more stored nutrients that the body can access if food is hard to find during the winter months. Now, these days in modern life, we can simply go down to the supermarket and buy food all winter long, unless you happen to live somewhere very remote, of course. Likewise, we can go down to the mall and buy nice warm winter clothing to keep us warm. We don't need to burn off the fat to keep warm like our caveman and cavewoman ancestors had to. So we can do all this in our modern life. But of course, our bodies don't know that. Our bodies are still pre-programmed from those days that we would need to have lots of fat to keep warm, and we would need to have reserves of fat to help us survive the cold months ahead. And of course, in primitive societies, there was always plenty of food around in the autumn. That's the time when you've got lots of fruits, you've got lots of berries, you've got lots of nuts. Mist and autumn fruitfulness is an old saying. And people would eat a lot in those days because, of course, as I was just saying, it was available. And, of course, there was no way of preserving it either, really, if you go back far enough. So you would sort of gorge yourself on food in the autumn and live off the reserves throughout the rest of the winter. And it makes sense that you're going to feel hungry at this time and you're going to crave warming, high carbohydrate foods that can easily be converted into fat and stored ready for the late winter and the spring when plant foods are hard to find. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you may be familiar with the saying, April is the cruelest month, because, of course, your reserves from the winter are starting to wear off and the new crops from the spring haven't come in yet. In the southern hemisphere, of course, it's the other way around. Perhaps October is the cruelest month. And you know how it is, on a cold winter's day, when you've been out, and you come in and there's a roaring fire and you can sit down with a mug of soup and lots of high carbohydrate foods that you can eat. It's nice and satisfying to have, a nice sponge pudding or something like that, something that's really warming. And of course, in our modern societies, in our modern lives, as I was just saying, you don't really need all that fat, so your body just simply lays it down. And another problem is, of course, hormonal changes caused by the shortening days are the second factor that can cause winter weight gain. And these can affect our eating habits as winter approaches. And it's well known that having less natural light can cause depression and low energy. And sometimes this is called seasonally affected depression or SAD, SAD. And most people who are overweight tend to eat more when they feel low. We also turn to food, especially refined carbohydrate foods like chips, chocolate, cake, or white bread, for a fast energy boost when we feel tired. And these foods can cause blood sugar swings that lead to more lows and to more cravings. It becomes a vicious circle. And when you understand all of this, it makes it much easier to avoid winter weight gain. We all have a natural tendency to eat more and to eat the wrong foods at this time of year. And you can't expect to hold out against a biological need, but you can be careful about the sort of foods that you choose. It's fine to have high carbohydrate foods in the winter if that is what you crave, and as long as you're not on a low carb diet, obviously. But be sure to choose whole grains and starchy vegetables over sugar and refined carbohydrate foods. And things like the fiber in brown rice, whole grain bread, pumpkins, and so on can help to slow down the absorption and keep blood sugar stable. At the same time, you can avoid winter weight gain, by being careful not to take in any unnecessary fats. Don't slather your butter thickly all over the whole grain bread or pumpkin, or smother your whole grain pasta in cheese sauce. Choose low-fat dairy products and use them sparingly. And of course, it's important to keep your exercise levels up. Primitive people would have got a lot less exercise in the cold winters, but we don't have to rely on outdoor activities for fitness. You can go to the gym, or you can keep an exercise bike at home. But don't forget winter sports either. A brisk activity outdoors on a crisp winter's day can really burn off the calories. And it's burning it off two ways. It's burning it off through activity, and also it's burning it off to keep warm, which is as nature intended. So that way, even if you do eat a little more, you don't have to let it settle on your waistline.